and welcome to BookNews Podcast in partnership with Kenya Publishers Association. My name is Virginia Thuku, and with us here is Mbugua Nganga at the Nairobi International Book Fair. Welcome, Mr. Mbugua.
Asante sana, Virginia. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you for coming. And you have a new book.
Yes,
fresh,
correct.
Fresh from the printers. We can fix this country. After the backdrop of the Gen Z revolution a few months ago, tell us why this is so accurate right now.
Yeah, many of the problems that face Kenya and many of the questions that the Gen Z protesters wanted answered, they are in this book. Because there are issues about the economy, issues about governance, and issues about democracy.
Yeah.
So those are some of the issues that we are tackling. And also about creating jobs, not just for young people, but for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this book, you started writing it some time back, yeah?
Correct, yeah, during COVID.
What informed it?
Number one, I wanted to position myself as a thought leader on political economic issues.
Okay.
And I thought I've written a lot as a newspaper editor on issues to do with governance, democracy, equality. I'm very passionate about fighting inequality and how we can reduce poverty. So I said, all these thoughts are scattered. Why don't I put them together in a place where, like a compendium, where someone can come and read all these thoughts and ideas in one place. Yeah.
And from what I'm seeing, it is speaking to us, speaking to everyone. Who is your target to read this? Everybody or leaders or?
Number one, I wanted to enlighten citizens.
Yeah.
Because I believe when citizens are enlightened, they can make better decisions, especially during elections, and they can put their leaders to account after elections. Number two, I also wanted to address policymakers and politicians, because these are the people who make the decisions that impact on citizens. So I was addressing both the leaders and the citizens.
All right.
Yeah.
If you look at what you have written in the book, it touches on various aspects, very
Correct.
important aspects of the economy.
Yeah.
In your view, are these the ones that are going to fix our country?
Number one, if you fix the economy, people will have money in their pockets. Many of the problems that we have arise because people don't have incomes. So when young people are jobless, they are more likely to go to the streets. But if they are gainfully employed, that thought will not occur.
Okay.
Number two, when older people are well off economically, the country is better off. And also, if you are a parent, you are able to take care of your responsibilities as an adult and as a parent.
Yeah.
But if you are in your 40s and you're in your 50s and you are poor, there are very many challenges. For example, the children of the poor are more likely to drop out of school. They are more likely to get pregnant before the age of 18. They are likely to become shorter than their peers who come from middle class or rich families.
Shorter, you mean height?
Yes. Yeah, because you see they are undernourished or malnourished.
Okay.
And what affects height is the amount of food you eat and whether it's a balanced diet.
Okay.
Number three, if you fall out of school because of poverty, your children will also be affected. Because if, let's say, assume a young girl stopped school at class 4. She doesn't know what's a balanced diet. So when the child is hungry, she will give the child uji. Uji is just starch.
Yes.
Then you find the children with marasmus or kwashiorkor or conditions like those, or something that we call wasting. Yeah.
Okay.
But if someone goes to school, they are more likely to get a better job. They are more likely to join the middle class, and they are more likely to have a prosperous family. So those are the issues that I have addressed in this book. Yeah.
And what's the case of corruption?
Corruption is a serious problem. We have also talked about it. And you know, corruption affects the poor the most. Because if money meant for hospitals is stolen, it's the poor who go to public hospitals. If money meant for schools is stolen, it's the poor who go to public schools. So corruption makes poor people poorer. So, and that is the biggest problem I have with corruption. It makes poverty worse.
All right.
Number two, it makes undeserving individuals to benefit at the expense of the public. Let's say we needed a road that has four lanes, and money for 2 lanes is stolen. That means every day we are going to be stuck in traffic jam, all of us, because one person diverted money meant for 2 lanes.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
So corruption is a terrible condition. It makes poverty worse, and it costs the country a lot of money in terms of manpower and wasted energy. Yeah.
Okay. And as young people, or as people, as citizens, now that there's so much that's happening within us and outside us that we don't have control over, what's your take and what can we do about it?
Number one, there are very many people who don't vote. If you look at the voter turnout for the last election, there were about 7 million people who did not vote.
Yes.
It is a crime, in my view, for people not to vote. Yeah,
yes.
Because the moment you fail to vote, it means that you are allowing bad leadership to take root. Number two, for the people who vote, it's important for them to look at the policies, not the personalities of the people who are vying. Because the moment you look at the policies, you are able to put that person into account. But if you look at the personality, you are unlikely to put that person into account.
Yeah.
So that is why we have bad leadership sometimes, because you didn't interrogate what this person is promising or what they are saying in their manifesto. You are just looking at this person in terms of, I like this character, or I am affiliated to him one way or the other, not because of the ideas they are selling.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a big problem historically in Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the people who don't vote, they have a responsibility to start voting. The people who vote, they have a responsibility to vote
well.
in for leaders who have the interest of the public at heart. And then when we do that, we are able to put those leaders to account. Yeah.
Okay. So in your view, what Kenya do you want to see?
Personally, I want to see a Kenya where there is less poverty. I think now poverty stands at about between 36 and 40%. It used to be worse during COVID, it was at 56%. But it's possible to create a society that is prosperous. When people are prosperous, even people like me who are authors, will make money. Because the moment people have disposable income, they don't have to worry about bread and butter. They can say, now I want to buy a book, I want to buy a car, I want to build a house. And those are the things that create the economy, or they build what we call the gross domestic product. So when you sell a book as a Kenyan author, you are also paying a printer, you are paying a designer, you are paying the supplier. Everyone in the ecosystem makes money. What we need as a country is to create prosperity for the vast majority of the Kenyans. Number one, by opening up education opportunities for all, and number two, by creating policies that are conducive for job creation and business growth.
Yeah, and that is a very good view of how we should make our country. And I hope that there is leaders who are listening, or who are listening to the ground, and just to understand that there's something that they need to do different to ensure that our country is prosperous.
Correct.
Now, as an author, as a writer, you churn books. Every year there's 2-3 books, you're churning books. Don't you ever experience the writer's block?
They say that writing is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. Okay?
Perspiration, so there must be sweat?
Yeah, you have to sit down and work.
Okay.
There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell, and he says once you do something for 10,000 hours, you become world class at it. So I've come to a point where I can write a story, and sometimes I have an old story, I just repurpose it, it looks like a new story. Sometimes I have a new story, the idea comes, and I write it as soon as it comes. Because with the stories, if you don't write them when they are still
fresh and hot,
fresh in the mind, you are likely to lose them.
All right.
But the most important thing is not to write books in large numbers, is to impact readers. So for me, it's more important that I impact readers and I give them variety. Because you see, like now I come to the book fair every year. If you came to the book fair last year and you bought, let's say, all my books, when you come this year, you will not have something to buy.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I have to keep that in mind, that every year, the people who have read me have read me. I need to give them something.
Yeah.
So that's how I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I was very lucky in the sense that when I went to secondary school, I studied typewriting with office practice. So I can type
very fast.
I can do 80 words per minute, 90 words per minute. Yeah, so if I want to do a book that is, let's say, 50,000 words, if the idea is there and I've done my research, I can do it. The turnaround is usually very, very fast.
Okay.
Because I don't have to use one finger. I don't have to write using a biro.
Yeah, fast, and then you give someone to type for you.
Exactly.
You
So
keep going as you go.
Yeah, so I
edit.
can do 80 words per minute. That also has really, really helped.
All right.
Yeah. Number 3, I read a lot of books. This year I've slowed down a bit, but I read a lot of books and I read a lot of material because as an editor, every day you have to read. Yeah. So and when you read, you get inspired. So there is always a constant source of ideas from the material that I'm reading.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of experience and practice, and also as an editor, do you ever feel like your work is not good enough? Do you give other people to read?
Yeah. Like now there's a book that is stuck because we need to make corrections. And if you look at there's a book I have reissued. It's called Different Colors. I have re-edited that book more than 15 times. But now I have come to a point where I feel now this book is a good book. But the secret of writing is rewriting.
Rewriting.
Yeah.
You keep writing. Rewrite.
You rewrite the story because every time you come back to it, you'll find something that you need to improve. You understand? And you will get an idea that you can always improve on. Or you get a word that is better than the word you had used before.
Earlier. All right.
So we are taught and we teach that the secret to good writing is rewriting. Yeah, like now that book called Different Colors, we did the first edits were 7.
Wow.
We published. Then we did 4 other edits we published. Then we submitted the book to KCD. They corrected. We made the corrections and now we have republished. Yeah.
So it's a journey. It's a
journey.
process.
Yeah, it's a journey. And the book, if you buy the first edition of a book today and you buy the second or third or fourth edition, you will find always there's a difference. The subsequent book is always better.
Okay.
Yeah.
You tell us more about the books you write. Which ones have you written? Do you write for all the journals? Do you write for children and adults and everything in between? So anybody who's never interacted with your work.
So my specialization is fiction. So I do fiction for children, for teens, and for adults. That is my specialization.
Okay.
So for adults, I have 2 books which I like speaking about: Different Colors and Terrorists of the Aberdare. Both of them are award winners. For junior readers, those are teenagers and preteens from 12 onwards up to maybe 17, 18. I have The Weaver of Dreams, The Man in Green Dungarees. Those are very good books.
The Man in Green Dungarees, awesome.
It's a very popular book. Actually, it's a bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one is a bestseller. And then for young people, I have The Angels of the Wild, The Bad Boy, and many others. Those ones are more than 10 for young people. And then I have maybe 1 or 2 books for children, for small children, class 1, class 2.
All right.
Yeah, but what we have discovered with books, we don't say this book is for class 1 or class 2 because the competence of children differs from region to region. If you go to Northeastern, a book that can be read by a class 1 child, or let's say in Nairobi, you find that a class 3 or class 4 child in Northeastern is reading the same book.
Yeah.
So we don't classify books according to class. We classify them according to language competence. Even when parents come to buy books from my stand, I always ask them, is your child a competent reader? Because it's easy to sell a parent a book. Then the child goes and reads the book in 10 minutes.
True.
And the parent feels that it's not value for money. So we usually discuss the competence of the child in terms of language, and then we sell the appropriate book.
Okay.
Yeah, but most of my books, even children who are competent readers, they can read without the parents having to be embarrassed or to be worried, what are my children reading?
Yeah.
And the books I write for children, even adults can read them.
Yeah, they're interesting.
Actually, there was a research that was done, and it showed that adults are the biggest readers of children's books. And part of the reason is, it's true. Part of the reason is an adult will first of all read a book before deciding whether this is a book he wants to buy for the child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, on the issue of literature, you write in English most of the times.
Correct.
Why don't you write in vernacular ever?
I write in vernacular. I used to write poetry in vernacular. But you see, also you need to have a market.
Okay.
If you write in vernacular, you shrink your market.
Oh, to that particular geographical
Exactly.
area.
Yeah, but the beauty of writing in vernacular is that the language is very nuanced. You enjoy writing in vernacular. And it's not always possible to translate that language exactly the same way when you translate into English.
Okay.
Yeah, so I enjoy writing in vernacular, but I don't publish in vernacular.
Okay.
Yeah, because the market is small.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that means you have to do like Ngugi. You write in vernacular, then you translate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I prefer to write in English because it's a wider market.
Yeah.
I used to be competent in Kiswahili, but I chose to study English and literature for the same reason.
All right.
Yeah, but these days people keep asking me, why don't you write Kiswahili books? So maybe if I feel challenged, I can write a Kiswahili book.
All right. Tell us about publishing and the journey of big books.
So I started Big Books in 2009. The reason I started it is because I felt that publishers were taking too long to either approve a book I've written or to tell me they will not publish. So if a publisher takes 2 or 3 years to get back to you, those are 3 years of wasted revenue because the money has not come. Then after 2 years they come back and tell you, we don't have the money to do this kind of book, but it's a good book. Basically they are saying no. So Kitambo, I used to collect rejection letters.
Oh.
I had many
There
of
were
them.
that many?
I used to collect them. Then one day I said, why don't I publish myself? And the reason that happened is because I went to Germany to study journalism.
Okay.
And we were taken to a place called the Rhine area, where the river Rhine passes. And they showed us how guys who used to do wine presses, they used to grow grapes, then they used to press the grapes to make wine. So that's where the word press came from.
Oh.
Yeah, because they used machines or equipment to press the grapes to extract the juice.
Okay.
Then they realized that after you press, the color is being left on the machines.
All right.
So they said, why don't we use this color to do books or written material?
Yeah.
So they used to chisel on those blocks. Chiseling.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they press on a paper like this, and the words come out like this. So when we went there and we learned how, so that's where printing presses started.
Okay.
But they started from the rudimentary presses for wines. Then they started doing them with metal. So that's why you have uppercase and lowercase. Uppercase means where you put capital letters is a drawer, it's on top.
Okay.
And lowercase is another drawer.
Oh.
So if you want...
That's where the names came from.
Correct. So if you wanted a capital letter, you tell someone,
Uppercase.
Open the uppercase, give me a letter T. Open the lowercase, give me letter H. You understand?
That's where it came from. Good history.
So it was a lot of work. So others didn't want to do it. Because you just wanted to write your story, you give the printer to struggle with the upper cases and lower cases and the metal types and the presses. But when computers came, that market was liberalized. Yeah, because you could design your own book, you could type on a computer, which is very easy, and then you could do all these fancy things. So I said, the market has been opened. Why are you waiting on other people to publish you when you can publish yourself?
Yeah.
So I started publishing adult books because that's where there was a gap in the Kenyan market. Because publishers focus on school books.
Yes.
So I said, because I don't have the muscle to compete with the publishers in the school market, let me go to a niche where there is no competition. So that's why I do this kind of books.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the competition is very small.
Okay.
It used to be very small until now. Other people started self-publishing. By last year, according to Nuria is one of the leading bookshops in Nairobi, there were 650 self-published authors in Nairobi. So that means the number has gone up this year. I'm in a group where there are more than 1,000 self-published authors, which means what I saw that time, many other people have seen.
They have seen it as well.
Yeah. I'm hosting a young writer at my stand. She
Yeah.
has done 11 books in 6 months. They are
She's
not
on a
stories.
roll.
They are not stories. They are coloring books.
Okay.
But when she discovered that you can do coloring books using computer programs, she just uses the programs, creates the images, does the cover, and prints. Yeah. Now she's selling
Now,
coloring
actually,
books.
on that note, yeah, you have so much with you in information, experience that you would want to share. Do you ever have master classes, for example, on how to write, how to publish, how to edit?
I've not started yet, but we used to have something called the Authors Cafe.
Okay.
So Authors Cafe, we used to go to Daystar as authors, and they would give us a class.
Okay.
So every Saturday for one semester, a year, we would teach the people who are interested in writing. Yeah, but the program was phased out. But as a person, I don't have master classes.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I should think about it. But I've seen Steve Biko has been doing it very successfully. He charges 10,000 shillings per session,
All right.
which I think is very good money.
For sure.
Because it means if you have 10 guys, and each
That's
is
a lot
paying
of
10
money.
is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So maybe I can think about it in future, but I've not thought about it seriously.
Okay.
But one part of my problem is I'm a very traditional person. I consider myself a writer. Like now I'm doing some research for a client. So that one is taking a lot of my time. And I have a day job as a newspaper editor. So that's part of the reason why I don't do some of these other things.
Where is tradition in there?
Sorry?
Where is tradition?
Master classes, you have to be a new kind of thinker. Because how can I drive revenue? Let me do a master class. I charge people 20,000. I use my name, and they will
Okay.
come.
Okay. No, we are always learning.
Correct.
Yeah, we are here
Even
to
before you came here last year, I had never done a podcast, and this is my second one.
Yeah.
And I never used to think that I could do podcasting. No, because of you.
And we are grateful you
Yeah.
could come again and again with a new book, a fresh book, and I hope next year you'll have 3 more.
I have a new book that's about to come out.
Yeah.
It's a story about an investigative journalist. But you are still in the editing processes.
It's in the
and design.
pipeline. Okay.
Yeah.
We can't wait to read about it because it's a way you have a way with words.
Yeah.
You weave them nicely, and we can't wait to know what it is that you have done for us. Now, this is the books that you write. Where can people get them?
Nuria, you can get them on Nuria.
In Nuria, even this
Bookshop.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Textbook center, they have some of them, especially the ones for younger people.
Okay.
And then there's another bookshop on Mamangina Street, and one in Yaya Center. It's called Bookstop.
Most
Yeah.
of?
Bookstop in Yaya
books.
Center.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of my books I found in this. And also, from next month, we are going to integrate a payment system into our website where you can order a book and we do the delivery. But that one is going to start in October.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was about to ask you about the e-platform.
So for e-platforms, we work with e-Kitabu, and during this book fair, we have just signed an agreement with Snaplify.
Okay.
So our book should be on Snaplify very soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wishing you all the best.
Asante sana.
And now we are celebrating 25 years.
Yes.
Nairobi International Book Fair.
Yeah.
What have you seen that has happened over years? I know you have been a huge fan of the book fair.
Yeah.
And what do you want to see in future?
Yeah. So I have attended the last 23 book fairs.
That's 23 years.
Without fail. Initially, I used to come just to observe, but for the last since 2000, I think it's since 2000, I've been coming as an exhibitor. And this year it was very good because now, like me, I got a very good stand, so I'm very happy.
Okay.
And then the number of visitors has been very high, so we are happy with that one. And the number of guys who are exhibiting from Kenya and from other countries is also high.
Okay.
So for me, I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah.
And what's the future you'd want to see?
The future, of course, is digital. That's
right.
number one. But we still want to encourage people to read books that are printed, because when TV came, people thought radio would be finished.
Yes, but it's still on.
It's still on.
Yeah.
So people can still go digital. Storytelling keeps changing. I had a conversation the other day with someone who turns stories into movies, and I was telling him, why don't we experiment, not movies into plays?
Okay.
So I was asking him, why don't we experiment? So what he does, He turns a book into a play. He stages it at the National Theatre. He films that play, and he has an app through which you can watch that play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah. If you want me to show you the app, it's on my phone. So initially, they were targeting school children who are doing set books.
Okay.
But now, the market, he has liberalized the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, because anyone with a phone,
Can be able to access
you
it.
can download the app
Yeah.
and you watch a play.
Yes.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
That's why I'm saying the future is digital. But people have to continue writing stories. If you look at the number of books published in Kenya, vis-a-vis, let's say Germany, we compare with Germany. Kenya, there's a year Kenya published 800 books. 800, and most of them are school books. The same year, Germany produced 80,000 books
Wow.
printed.
We
not
have a
e-books.
long way to go.
So, even if you are going digital, we still have a place for the physical book. Number two, storytelling will change. Kitambo, when we were children, we would sit around a fire with our grandmother,
Yeah. Yes, and
she
hear
would tell
stories.
us the same story every evening.
Oh yes, and it never got boring.
But do you know why? Because she kept changing
Yeah.
the way she tells the story.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. Storytelling is changing, but the need for stories is constant. Yeah.
Interesting, Nganga.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to finish this up, and I'd like to have you tell us just a snapshot of what would you say to someone who wants to start writing?
Writing is 1%.
99% perspiration?
You know, people say they want to write. They say they have ideas,
Yeah.
but they never sit down to write their stories. So every year they come to the book fair, or they write in their to-do list, I will write a book this year. You have the inspiration. But the inspiration is not enough.
Yeah.
There's a writer who said, writing is the application of the backside to the chair. So if you want to write, apply your backside to the chair.
All right.
And these days, there's an app. If you are not able to write, you just dictate into your phone. It translates the words into
A write-up.
yeah.
Okay.
It translates the verbal words into written words. So if you're not very good at typing, writing with a biro or whatever, just download the app. Say, once upon a time, there was a little boy called Joroge. And you just speak into the microphone,
Yeah.
and the story is written. You don't have to use AI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well noted. Thank you, Mr.
Asante.
Mbugua. Thank you for coming once again. Viewers and listeners, We Can Fix This Country. Available on all bookshops, especially Nuria and TBC,
Yeah.
okay, and all those ones that are near you. We hope that you are going to enjoy Mr. Mbugua's writing, a prolific writer and a journalist. Thank you so much for coming.
Asante.
Thank you for gracing our podcast.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
All the very best in your other writing.
Karibu.
Asante sana.